Welcome back. In the last video, we talked about what it means to be a heritage speaker and why I prefer that term over no SABO kid. Today, we're diving deeper into that conversation and exploring the idea that heritage speakers exist on a spectrum of Spanish fluency. Wherever you're at on that spectrum, there are practical steps that you can start taking today that can help increase your fluency and confidence in Spanish. Okay, so first let's talk about this idea of the spectrum of fluency. As heritage speakers, we all have different backgrounds with Spanish. Some of us are more comfortable listening and can do really well understanding Spanish, but really struggle when you step into the speaking part. Others of us can hold conversations really well, but when it comes to reading and writing in Spanish, that's where we start to struggle. Some are really fluent at near native levels, but still feel like there's more that they can learn. It's really important to remember that the spectrum isn't fixed. You can work to improve your Spanish and move along that spectrum of fluency. And even more, there's no right place to be on the spectrum. Starting today, I really want you to take ownership of the fact that you are on that spectrum and that you have some Spanish. That's incredibly empowering to really start to realize, you know what, hey, I don't know how to speak very confidently, but I'm here and I'm on that spectrum and I exist as a Spanish heritage speaker. It's a journey and you're here one day, and if you want to be somewhere else the next day, you have the power to make that happen. Let's talk more about those who are really great at understanding Spanish, but really lack the confidence in being able to speak Spanish. If this is you, don't worry. This is a super common experience. In fact, even within the same families, you might find that the older siblings have more confidence speaking, but the younger ones really just understand. This happens when you just grow up in a home where Spanish is spoken, so you pick up on it passively, but you don't have a lot of opportunities to practice speaking it. If this is you, I have some tips for improvement. The goal in this stage is to get more comfortable speaking sentences out loud. This could be with trusted family members or with friends, but make sure that they're not shaming or judging your Spanish abilities. A lot of times though, it's in front of the mirror. Talk to yourself in front of that mirror until you feel comfortable talking with somebody else. It does not need to be perfect. In fact, you'll never improve your Spanish unless you're brave enough to use the imperfect Spanish that you have now. At this stage on the fluency spectrum, apps like Duolingo or Babel might be helpful. You might consider finding a language exchange partner, so Hello Talk is a good one. You're more than welcome to join in on our Spanish Heritage Discord that I run. We have conversation hours there as well. You'll probably find that you're more comfortable with really informal conversation first, but as you start going into more complex tenses or complex ideas, you'll start to struggle. That's expected. At this stage, it's really just about getting that language out, and you're going to find that it will improve with time. I want you to try incorporating Spanish into your daily routine. Whether it's ordering food at the local Mexican restaurant down the street or chatting with coworkers, the more you use it, the more comfortable you're going to become. And really, if you need to stay in that talking in front of a mirror stage for a while, great, do it. Stay there as long as you need. But remember, you gotta be brave enough to use that imperfect Spanish that you have first. Next, on the spectrum of fluency, we have those who can hold conversations fairly well, but start to struggle when the topics get more complex or unfamiliar. This group might also tend to struggle with reading and writing in Spanish. It's also likely that if you're in this group, you struggle with just formal language in general. If this is where you consider yourself on the spectrum of fluency, what you want to start doing is expanding your vocabulary. You want to start reading in Spanish. This is a really fun thing to do. In fact, the Discord I hold, it started really as a heritage Spanish book club where we would read at different levels. I have a beginner group, an intermediate group, and an advanced group. And you really gotta find where you fall in that reading category. You can maybe speak really well and would consider yourself not a beginner in speaking Spanish, but when it comes to reading, you don't really know how to read in Spanish, so you're a beginner reader. In this category, everyone's really unique in terms of their language abilities and reading and how it compares to their speaking ability. It could be really lopsided for some. So find out what reading level you're at and do this by going to your library and going to the Spanish section. Start in the children's section, open up some books and start reading. If you can read a children's picture book with, and understand everything really well, go on to a children's chapter book and see how you do there. If you're still feeling confident reading that children's chapter book, go to the adult chapter book and see how you feel there. What you want when you're reading in Spanish is a book that is Goldilocks. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. If you're able to pronounce every single word on that book but don't understand half the words, that book is too hard. You're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna get burnt out, you're gonna say, I don't know how to read in Spanish, and you're gonna throw that book away. If you can understand everything and really aren't learning any new vocabulary words, that book is too easy. You gotta move up. You gotta go find a chapter book next. You gotta go find an adult chapter book next. Next, you gotta practice writing. Do you know how to use accents? Do you know the capitalization rules in Spanish? If not, let's learn them. What's great about writing is it really helps you slow down and think about the sentence structure and the grammar being used in a way that you don't really get to when you're in a conversation just speaking fast, right? Slowing down is really good at this level. Looking at the tenses that you're using and writing those tenses out, and if you come to a sentence that you want to say and you're like, wait, I don't really know what the best tense is in this sentence to say what I want to say, you're really going to benefit from slowing down and writing out your Spanish. Plus, it's a really great way to track your progress over time. When you look back at those first few journal entries that you wrote a year from now, you're going to be really glad you started writing when you did. Level 3 on the spectrum of fluency would be near native communicators. Those who feel fairly confident using their Spanish but know that there's still room for improvement. If you're somebody who's in this group, you're in a great position to start refining your skills and push your Spanish even further. Grab a Spanish textbook and see how you do. A lot of people who can speak near native conversationally really would struggle if you plopped them into a college course in a Spanish-speaking country. Like, it's a whole different set of language use. So if you're somebody in this group feeling really confident about your ability to speak conversationally, we want to start getting into academic Spanish now. Seek out opportunities to start talking about more complex topics like politics, philosophy, literature. This is going to push you to start really thinking critically in Spanish. Your brain's not used to doing that because if you're watching this video as a heritage speaker, you've probably had all of your schooling done in English. And your brain's really good at thinking critically in English. Now it's time to hone those skills in Spanish. Your relationship to Spanish is personal. Your goals are personal. Celebrate every small victory along the way and enjoy the journey, enjoy the process of reconnecting with your heritage language. The beautiful thing about language learning is that it's a lifelong journey. Every step you take brings you closer to your language fluency goals and helps you connect deeper to your cultural roots. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this video helps you feel confident and proud of where you are on your language learning journey and gives you some practical tips to start improving and get where you want to be.